Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
And we're going to start things off here at 6 with 2 students shot outside Henry Ford High School on Detroit's west side.
Police are searching for 3 men who fired more than a dozen shots, reportedly while wearing ski masks. Mara McDonald live at the scene. So, Mara, do we know how those students are doing?
Kimberly, according to the chief, it's 2 boys. Each was shot twice. Both of them are in temporary serious condition and are expected to survive this. When you see all the shell casing markers, that is amazing. And to put this into some sort of context for you, right beyond that police tape, that's where the shooting was. Where I am standing right here, that's the entry to the school. Viewers capturing the aftermath of the shooting, one of the boys on the ground getting tended to. Those who live along this stretch of Evergreen heard the gunfire. Students were scattering when the shots started and ran to neighbors asking for help.
I let one young man in so he could call his parents. He was shaking up really bad because it happened right in front of him. I looked down and seen the gray car, which I believe it was the grandmother's car. They pulled him out of it and laid him on the ground, and he was shot up pretty bad.
The chief says 2 students were hit, a 16-year-old and the other, the age is unknown right now. They're looking for 3 young men who likely were wearing ski masks who circled the school a couple of times. Neighbors think it was a white van or a white pickup truck. Chief says they think they're going to have video to put out soon, but they also have a very good idea who they're looking for.
We also may have a name on the suspect, but it is a juvenile that we're looking for, so I cannot release the name. But we're going to relentlessly work this case, working with them, and we're going to be hopefully making an arrest pretty soon. No one else is at risk. No one at the school is at risk, and we know who we're looking for.
Back here live. So what was this whole thing all about? Because clearly these 2 were targeted. Students who scattered and ran to neighbors told neighbors that this all started because of some sort of a disagreement or what was viewed as disrespect in talking about someone who was a deceased relative. We're live on Detroit's west side tonight. I'm Mara McDonald, Local 4.
All right, Mara. Now, officers rushing to respond to that shooting at Henry Ford High School were involved in a crash nearby. Their patrol car badly damaged, and a GMC Yukon, as you can see, was flipped over. This is Evergreen and West Outer Drive. We're told the officers did have their lights and sirens on when they T-boned the SUV. 2 16-year-olds and a 6-year-old were inside that vehicle. Everyone being treated right now, and it is expected that everyone is going to be okay.
8-year-old little girl, the youngest of 3 people killed last Thursday in a deadly accident in Lincoln Park. Tonight, we're hearing from her grief-stricken mother, whose other daughter may have been driving the car when it crashed. The investigation focusing on the possibility that this was a joyride broadcast live on Instagram right up until the accident. Sean Lay is live with more on how this family is coping tonight. Sean.
Well, your heart just goes out to this mom. We spoke to her not long ago here on Detroit's west side, and of course our talk was very emotional. Take a look.
Her name, Dariana Duncan. This precious girl was just 8 years old. Dariana was killed Thursday in this horrible crash in Lincoln Park. A 15-year-old boy and 18-year-old male were also killed in the crash. LaTanya Howard is Dariana's mother. She is in a daze. She wanted to speak with me, but not show her face, just hear her voice. The pain of losing her daughter has taken its toll, but she wants us to know about her little girl.
Smart, ongoing child, very smart in the school system. She liked to dance.
Sitting right across from LaTanya, her 14-year-old daughter, Jamira, who may have been driving the car involved in the deadly crash. Her baby sister gone, 2 others gone, a 13-year-old girl in critical condition. Jamira was not badly hurt and did not speak while we were there.
She's just been kind of spaced out.
Mom and family still have questions about what happened last Thursday night. Dariana's godmother tells me the focus right now is helping this mom who says she can't return to her Lincoln Park home. It is just too painful.
Even yesterday, like when she was on the phone giving someone the address, it broke her, So right now we just trying to, get through the freedom arrangements and, get her, relocate her and her daughter.
Because after everything is over with and everybody go back to their normal life, I'm still going to be the one stuck with this on my heart.
It'll be weighing heavy on this mom's heart. Of course, all of this remains under investigation. Family members here now creating a GoFundMe page for LaToya Howard to help her get through this, pay for funeral expenses, and also help the family relocate because mom says she's not going back to the home in Lincoln Park. Of course, we put the link to that GoFundMe on our website. You can find it right there on clickondetroit.com. Live on the West Side tonight. Sean Lay, Local 4, back to you.
It's heartbreaking what she is going through right now, Sean.
That's right.
We appreciate it.
A Detroit police officer is jailed and facing criminal charges after state troopers found him drunk and heavily armed. Corey Ryan Dombrowski of Monroe was arrested Friday night. Michigan State Police say his girlfriend called 911 saying he had approached her with a firearm. When state troopers pulled him over, he was reportedly drunk, armed with several guns, and wearing body armor. That is not allowed without written permission. He is in the Monroe County Jail on 5 charges related to the guns, the body armor, and drunk driving. DPD put out a statement saying Dombrowski is suspended and that the department will not tolerate its members engaging in criminal conduct, especially domestic violence.
Almost all children have a primary doctor, such as a pediatrician, who provides critical information to help parents make decisions about vaccines.
Interestingly, though, a new poll from CS Mott Children's Hospital finds a significant number of parents have not talked to their child's doctor about vaccines over these past 2 years. Dr. Frank McGeorge here to tell us why that's of concern. Doc?
Well, you know, Kim and Devin, 1 in 7, that's how many parents are not asking about vaccines for their kids. That's a number that really should be 0. Now, what's even more concerning is that 3% of parents are even skipping taking their children to the doctor to avoid talking about vaccines.
When you think about 3% of all the families across America, that is a lot of kids. We're concerned about that because when parents choose to skip healthcare visits, kids are not getting those screenings for medical conditions or mental health concerns.
Even when parents do bring their children to the doctor, there's still a problem, says Sarah Clark, co-director of the CS Mott poll on children's health.
And what we found in this Mott poll report is that discussions about vaccines seem to be decreasing.
When parents did discuss vaccine, as might be expected, 82% of the time it was focused on vaccines needed for school. The flu vaccine and COVID vaccines were discussed less often, at 68 and 57% respectively. It's a trend we really want to reverse.
Over 70% of parents who talked about flu or COVID vaccine thought that the provider gave them information that was helpful in making the decision about whether to vaccinate their child. So parents shouldn't feel afraid of raising these conversations. Having discussions with the child's regular doctor is really important because parents don't always know what the most recent vaccine recommendations are.
Now, another challenge to getting children fully vaccinated that the poll identified is some doctors' offices actually don't have all the vaccines in stock, meaning parents often have to go to a different location or make a different appointment. Now, parents need to be persistent, but frankly, offices really should correct that problem as well.
So did the study say anything about why parents aren't discussing vaccines with their child's doctor?
Well, you know, in some cases, it's actually because the parent just isn't necessarily interested in vaccinating their child at all. But in other cases, parents were actually worried that they would be a bother to their doctor. But that's not really something that you should be concerned about. So
That's
don't
what they're
worry
there
about
for.
it.
That's,
Exactly.
yeah.
Talk to your
Part of the
doctor
drill.
about
Yeah.
vaccines.
Interesting. All right. Thanks, Doc.
Millions of people are learning, yes, they have been approved for federal student loan forgiveness under the program President Biden is trying to push through a legal blockade. But those emails and the hang-ups in court are causing some confusion. Grant Herms in Ann Arbor tonight with Where Things Stand. Grant?
Well, Devin, there have been a lot of ups and downs with the president's loan forgiveness plan, but whatever happens in the courts will undoubtedly affect tens of thousands of Michiganders who are looking to take a bite out of their student debt. Over the weekend, the U.S. Department of Education sending out emails telling those who applied for the student loan forgiveness plan they were approved, even though the plan is on hold, pending a court ruling in the U.S. Supreme Court, leaving many borrowers in limbo, like Paul Abrahams, whose wife is still paying for her student loans, and their daughter just about to go to school herself.
And we can pay for it if we have to, but it would be nicer if we don't. Our daughter's going to be going to college soon, so we'll need money for that too.
In Michigan, there are more than 1.4 million people with student loan debt, totaling to about $51 billion statewide. But with things in the courts, it can be a little confusing about what to do next.
And it's confusing, and especially since folks haven't had to engage with it as much over the past 2 or 3 years during COVID.
It's not just cancellation. Debt payments are set to start in January after nearly 3 years, meaning now is a good time to take stock if you haven't looked at those loans in a little while.
You know, some people might be the first time they're engaging with their student loans if they're a recent graduate, and for some people, they're a little rusty.
A tricky tightrope of student debt with relief hanging in the balance. Now, if you haven't applied for that forgiveness program, the online window is closed right now. But if you are a government worker or a nonprofit worker, there are a lot of other options out there, including some that will wipe away that debt completely. Now, as for when those loan payments could restart, that's expected to happen in January. The White House said this last extension was the last one, but that was before all of this ended up in the courts. So we'll have to wait and see what happens next. The president makes a decision here in the next couple of months. Back to you.
We'll stay on it. All right, Grant.